You know, Mark, when we decided to talk about a book that truly shaped us, my mind went straight to this one, The Little Prince. It's almost like a secret key, isn't it? It unlocks something deep inside you that you might have forgotten was even there. I first read it when I was a teenager, feeling a little lost and misunderstood, as so many of us do. The book felt like a friend whispering, "I see you, I understand." It wasn't just a story, it was a companion on a shelf, waiting to remind me of what truly mattered in a world that felt overwhelmingly complicated and loud.
Coming home. I love that. For me, it was the opposite. I didn't discover it as a child. A very wise friend gave it to me in my late 20s, right after I had landed what I thought was my dream job. I was working all the time, chasing success and feeling completely empty inside. He just handed me this thin little book with its whimsical drawings and said, "I think you need this right now." I was skeptical, I'll admit. A children's book? But from the very first page, I was hooked. It was like Antoine de Saint-Exupéry reached across time and space to speak directly to my soul, to the part of me that was starving for meaning. And that's its power, isn't it? It meets you exactly where you are.
It doesn't matter if you're a child trying to make sense of the world, or an adult who has lost your way within it. The book has this incredible ability to be both simple and profound at the same time. It speaks a universal language of the heart. So let's set the scene for anyone who hasn't had the joy of reading it yet. The story starts with our narrator, a pilot, who has crash-landed his plane in the vast, empty expanse of the Sahara Desert. He's 1,000 miles from any human life, with only enough water for a few days.
He is, in every sense of the word, completely alone. And then, out of absolutely nowhere, he is woken by this small, gentle voice asking a very strange question. "If you please, draw me a sheep." It's such a disarming and beautiful beginning to a friendship that will change his life forever.
It really is. And the one asking is this extraordinary little boy, the little prince himself. He has golden hair, a serious demeanor, and he comes from a tiny planet, asteroid B612, which is barely bigger than a house. He doesn't answer the pilot's questions directly, but through their conversations, we slowly piece together his story. We learn about his home, his daily routine of cleaning out volcanoes, and his constant battle against the menacing baobab seeds that threaten to tear his little world apart.
Before landing on Earth, the little prince visited 6 other asteroids, each inhabited by a solitary, foolish grown-up. A king with no subjects, a conceited man who craves admiration, a tippler drinking to forget, a businessman counting stars he believes he owns. These aren't just characters, they are allegories. They represent the absurdities of the adult world and the things we pursue that ultimately leave us isolated and unfulfilled.
For me, the central theme, the one that resonates through every chapter, is the conflict between the innocence of childhood and the often misguided priorities of adulthood. The grown-ups the prince meets are all so serious, so preoccupied with matters of consequence that are, in reality, of no consequence at all. They value numbers over beauty, ownership over connection, and logic over love. The little prince, with his simple, direct questions, exposes how hollow these pursuits are.
And that ties directly into what I see as the other major theme, love and responsibility. This comes to life so beautifully through the prince's relationship with his Rose. She is vain, demanding, and difficult, yet he loves her. He waters her, protects her with a glass globe, and listens to her complaints. The fox he meets on Earth teaches him the most profound lesson of all, that to tame something means to create ties, and that you become responsible forever for what you have tamed.
Oh, the fox. That conversation is everything. It's where the book's most famous line comes from. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. That single sentence is the soul of the book. It's about looking past the surface, past the thorns of the rose, past the strange appearance of a little boy in the desert, and seeing the unique, precious essence within. It's a lesson in empathy, in patience, and in taking the time to truly know someone or something. We can't talk about this book without talking about the symbols. They are as much a part of the story as the words are. And for me, the most potent symbol is the rose. She represents love in its most complicated form. She is beautiful and fragrant, but also proud, thorny, and demanding. The prince loves her, but he doesn't know how to handle her complexities, so he leaves. It's a perfect metaphor for so many relationships. We often run away from love because we don't understand its imperfections.
I completely agree. And to me, the perfect counterpoint to the rose is the fox. The fox represents the wisdom of friendship and connection. He is the teacher. He explains what it means to build a bond, to make something or someone unique in the entire world, simply by investing your time and heart in them. The ritual he describes, approaching a little closer each day, is a beautiful guide to building trust and intimacy. The fox isn't glamorous like the rose, but his wisdom is what ultimately gives the prince the clarity he needs.
And then you have the baobabs. On the surface, they are just bad seeds that the prince must pull up every morning before they grow too big and tear his planet apart. But they symbolize so much more. They are the small problems, the bad habits, the negative thoughts that, if left unattended, can grow into catastrophic issues that overwhelm us.
And finally, there are the stars. For the pilot, before he meets the prince, the stars are just distant objects in the sky. But after their friendship, they are transformed. Because the prince lives on one of them, the stars become a source of connection and memory.
The writing style of Antoine de Saint-Exupéry is a masterclass in simplicity. There's not a single wasted word. The sentences are often short, clear, and direct, almost like a fable or a parable. This simplicity is deceptive, though, because it carries such profound emotional and philosophical weight.
He doesn't tell you that the businessman is lonely and sad. He shows you a man obsessively counting stars he can never truly possess. He trusts the reader, whether a child or an adult, to feel the meaning behind the simple words. And you absolutely cannot separate that writing from his own original illustrations. They aren't technically perfect drawings. They have a charming, almost childlike quality to them, but they are essential. When the pilot draws the boa constrictor that looks like a hat, we see exactly what he means. When he draws the sheep in the box, it's not just a drawing. It's an act of faith and imagination. The illustrations are not just decorations. They are an integral part of the narrative, conveying feelings and ideas that words alone cannot.
That's such a beautiful point. The art and the text are woven together so tightly that you can't imagine one without the other. They create a complete emotional world. Think about the drawing of the prince standing on his tiny planet at sunset. The simplicity of that image, the sense of scale and solitude, evokes a feeling of tender melancholy that a long, descriptive paragraph might fail to capture. It feels like you're reading someone's private journal, filled with their deepest thoughts and sketches. And because of this style, the book avoids being preachy. It presents these big ideas about life, love, and loss, not as lectures, but as gentle discoveries. So when we look at the legacy of The Little Prince, it's just staggering. It's one of the most translated books in the world, beloved across countless cultures. And I think that's because its core message is so universal. It speaks to the fundamental human need for connection and meaning.
It reminds us that what we own is meaningless compared to who we love and what we are responsible for. In a world that gets louder, faster, and more materialistic every day, this quiet little book is a powerful anchor. It calls us back to what is essential.
It's an anchor, yes, and it's also a mirror. I think its strength lies in its ability to be read at different stages of life and offer something new each time. As a child, you might love the adventure and the charming drawings. As a young adult, you might connect with the feeling of leaving home and trying to understand love. As an adult, you might feel the sting of recognition in the portraits of the grown-ups and feel a deep longing to reconnect with your own inner child. The book doesn't change, but we do, and it always has a new layer of wisdom to offer us.
Now, some critics might say it's overly sentimental or that its philosophy is too simplistic. I've heard people argue that its view of the world is naive, and while I can understand that perspective from a purely cynical point of view, I think it completely misses the point. The book's power is in its sentimentality.
The Little Prince endures because it speaks a truth that is timeless. It reminds us to look at the stars and hear laughter, to take care of our roses, to be wary of our baobabs, and most importantly, to never ever forget what it was like to be a child. It's not just a book, it's a promise we make to ourselves, a promise to see with our hearts. And that is a promise worth keeping, today and always.